Hikuleo confronts and warns John Cena in a shocking backstage showdown, but what you're about to witness goes far beyond a simple confrontation. This is the moment that could completely reshape the WWE landscape as we know it. WWE Smackdown just dropped a bombshell that has the entire wrestling world buzzing, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this could be the most jaw-dropping backstage encounter we've seen in years. Picture this: you're John Cena, the 17-time world champion, the face that runs the place, walking back to your locker room after delivering one of your signature fiery promos. You're feeling confident, maybe even invincible. But what's waiting for you in those shadows isn't another fan looking for an autograph or a fellow wrestler wanting to shake hands. What's waiting is 7 feet of pure, calculated intimidation in the form of Hikuleo, also known as Talatanga, a name that's been whispered in underground wrestling circles for years. This wasn't a chance encounter, folks. This was a message. This was a declaration of war. This was the moment when the old guard met the new threat, and the tension was so thick you could cut it with a steel chair. But here's what makes this confrontation absolutely spine-chilling: the silence. We're so used to wrestlers immediately launching into heated exchanges, throwing insults, and escalating to physical confrontations. Not this time. Hikuleo stood there like a statue carved from intimidation itself, just staring. Not pacing like an anxious rookie. Not fidgeting like someone unsure of their place. Just staring. With the kind of cold, calculated intensity that makes your blood run cold. And Cena? The man who stared down The Rock, faced Brock Lesnar, and never backed down from anyone. Even he felt the weight of that stare. You could see it in his body language. This wasn't just another challenger trying to make a name for themselves. This was something different. Something primal. Something dangerous. The camera crew, bless their hearts, caught every single second of this tension-filled standoff. Every micro-expression, every subtle shift in posture, every moment where you could practically hear both men's heartbeats echoing through that backstage area. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity, building pressure like a dam about to burst. Then came the words that changed everything: "Your time is up, and my time just began." 7 words. That's all it took to shift the entire power dynamic in WWE. Not a lengthy promo, not a scripted monologue filled with wrestling cliches. Just 7 words delivered with the kind of ice-cold conviction that makes champions lose sleep at night. What happened next will blow your mind, but first, let me tell you exactly who this Hikuleo character is and why his presence backstage should terrify every single wrestler on the roster. Because this story gets so much deeper than just one confrontation. We're talking about a potential changing of the guard that could define the next decade of professional wrestling. Let me paint you the complete picture of how this backstage showdown unfolded, because every single detail matters when you're witnessing what could be the birth of WWE's next legendary rivalry. It all started moments after John Cena delivered what many are calling one of his best promos in months. The champ was absolutely on fire in that ring, hyping up his upcoming title defense with the kind of passion and intensity that reminded everyone why he's held the WWE Championship for as long as he has. His voice carried that perfect blend of confidence and determination, declaring his intent to continue his dominant reign while the WWE Universe hung on every single word. The crowd was electric, feeding off Cena's energy, completely unaware that backstage, something was brewing that would make their champion's confident words seem almost prophetic in the most unsettling way possible. Cena left that ring feeling like he was on top of the world, probably running through his post-show routine in his head, maybe thinking about his next challenger or his upcoming media obligations. But when Cena pushed through those backstage curtains, the atmosphere shifted immediately. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and something just feels off? That's exactly what happened here. The usual backstage buzz, crew members chatting, wrestlers cooling down, the general organized chaos of a live show, all of that seemed to fade into the background. There, positioned strategically in the shadows like he'd been waiting for hours, stood Hikuleo. Not hiding, not lurking, but positioned. This was calculated. This was planned. This was a man who had studied his target and chosen the perfect moment to strike, not with fists, but with presence. The physical contrast was immediately striking. Cena, at 6 feet 1 inch and built like the seasoned warrior he is, suddenly looked almost small next to this 7-foot mountain of muscle and menace. But what made this confrontation truly special wasn't the size difference, it was the energy difference. Cena walked in with the confidence of a champion who just delivered a killer promo. Hikuleo stood there with the quiet confidence of a predator who'd already decided his prey's fate. The stare down that followed wasn't your typical wrestling theater. This felt real. This felt personal. This felt like two alpha males establishing dominance in the most primal way possible. Hikuleo's eyes never wavered, never blinked, never showed even a hint of the nervousness you'd expect from someone confronting a legend. Instead, there was something almost supernatural about his composure, like he was looking through Cena rather than at him. Cena, to his credit, met that stare head-on. 17-time world champions don't get intimidated easily, and John Cena has faced down some of the most terrifying competitors in WWE history. But even he seemed to recognize that this moment was different. This wasn't just another challenger trying to make an impression. This was something that felt like destiny colliding with legacy. The tension built to an almost unbearable level before Hikuleo finally broke the silence with those 7 words that are already being quoted across social media. Now, let me blow your mind with the real story behind this mysterious force of nature, because Hikuleo isn't just another big man trying to make it in WWE, he's a legitimate nightmare wrapped in 7 feet of pure, concentrated danger. Standing at an imposing 7 feet tall and weighing well over 300 pounds, Hikuleo, also known by his battle name Talatanga, represents everything that makes wrestling fans' hearts race with excitement and terror simultaneously. But here's what separates him from every other giant who's tried to make their mark in sports entertainment. This man wasn't built in a performance center or molded by corporate wrestling machines. He was forged in the fires of real combat sports across the Pacific. His training began in Japan, where he learned the ancient art of strong-style wrestling, a discipline that doesn't just teach you how to perform moves, but how to endure pain, how to inflict damage, and how to maintain composure under the most intense pressure imaginable. Picture a young Hikuleo, already towering over his trainers, learning to channel his natural size advantage into something far more dangerous, technique combined with raw power. But Japan was just the beginning. His journey took him through the Pacific Islands, where he was hardened by training methods that would break most professional athletes. We're talking about conditioning routines that involve carrying massive stones across volcanic beaches, grappling sessions that last for hours under the scorching sun, and mental preparation techniques passed down through generations of Polynesian warriors. The rumors surrounding his connection to the feared Anurai dynasty add another layer of mystique to his already intimidating presence. For those unfamiliar, the Anurai dynasty represents one of the most respected and feared wrestling families in Pacific Island culture. Think of them as the Polynesian equivalent of wrestling royalty, but with a reputation for producing competitors who don't just win matches, they dominate them completely. What makes Hikuleo truly terrifying isn't just his physical attributes, it's his mental approach to competition. Sources close to his training camps describe a man who studies his opponents with the intensity of a military strategist. He doesn't just watch their matches, he analyzes their breathing patterns, their recovery times between moves, their psychological tells when they're getting tired or frustrated. WWE fans got their first taste of his presence weeks ago through those cryptic vignettes that aired during Smackdown. Remember those haunting images of a shadowy figure walking through flames and tribal ruins? Most fans assumed it was building toward the return of an established star, maybe The Undertaker, maybe Kane, maybe someone from the Samoan wrestling dynasty making a comeback. Nobody expected a debut this calculated, this bold, this absolutely terrifying in its simplicity. Hikuleo didn't need fireworks, pyrotechnics, or elaborate entrance music. He debuted with pure intent, and that intent was crystal clear. He's not here to be part of the roster. He's not here to work his way up through the ranks, and he's definitely not here to wait for opportunities. He's here to take what he believes already belongs to him, starting with the man who currently holds the most prestigious prize in all of professional wrestling. The question burning in every wrestling fan's mind isn't just who is Hikuleo, but why did he choose to make John Cena his first target? The answer reveals a level of strategic thinking that should terrify every wrestler on the roster, because this wasn't random, this was calculated warfare at its finest. John Cena isn't just another wrestler, he's the living, breathing embodiment of WWE's modern era. When you think of WWE in the 21st century, Cena's face is probably the first thing that comes to mind. 17-time world champion, Hollywood crossover star, Make-A-Wish ambassador, locker room leader, and the man who's carried the company through some of its most challenging periods. He's not just a wrestler, he's an institution. But here's the brilliant, terrifying psychology behind Hikuleo's choice. Legends, no matter how bright they shine, eventually meet someone who wants to extinguish their light. And if you're going to make a statement in WWE, if you're going to announce your arrival as a legitimate threat, you don't target the mid-card guys hoping to work your way up. You go straight for the throat. You target the biggest name in the building. Think about it from a pure strategic standpoint. Hikuleo could have spent months, maybe even years, working his way through developmental territories, facing increasingly challenging opponents, building his reputation one match at a time. That's the traditional path, the safe path, the path that most wrestlers take. But Hikuleo isn't most wrestlers. By confronting Cena on what was essentially his first real night in the building, Hikuleo accomplished something that no amount of squash matches or developmental victories could achieve. He put himself on the map as a legitimate threat to the established order. Every wrestler backstage, every fan watching at home, every WWE executive in their corporate offices now knows exactly who Hikuleo is and what he represents. But there's another layer to this strategy that's even more impressive. Cena has faced them all: Batista, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, The Rock, and The Undertaker. He's stood across the ring from giants, technical masters, hardcore legends, and charismatic superstars. He's seen every type of challenge the wrestling world can throw at him, and he's overcome them all. So what makes Hikuleo think he can succeed where so many others have failed? The answer lies in what he brings to the table that's different from every other Cena challenger: unpredictability wrapped in calculated silence. Most of Cena's opponents have been products of the WWE system, wrestlers who've been molded and shaped by the same corporate machine that created Cena himself. Hikuleo represents something primal, something that can't be scripted or manufactured in a performance center. He brings a rawness, an authenticity, a connection to wrestling's most fundamental roots that feels genuinely dangerous. When he stared down Cena in that backstage area, it wasn't just another wrestler looking for a title shot. It was a force of nature announcing its intention to reshape the landscape. The timing couldn't be more perfect, either. Cena's been champion long enough that fans are starting to wonder who could possibly dethrone him, and Hikuleo's arrival provides an answer that nobody saw coming. This is the million-dollar question that has the entire WWE universe divided, and honestly, the answer is far more complex and fascinating than you might expect. Because when we're talking about whether Hikuleo is ready for John Cena, we're not just discussing physical capabilities or wrestling skills. We're talking about whether he can handle the psychological warfare that comes with challenging a legend. Let's start with what we know about Cena's track record. This man has faced every conceivable type of opponent and found ways to win. Batista brought raw power and intensity. Brock Lesnar brought legitimate fighting credentials and superhuman athleticism. CM Punk brought technical excellence and psychological manipulation. The Rock brought charisma and mind games. The Undertaker brought supernatural presence and decades of experience. Each of these legends brought something unique to their battles with Cena, and each of them pushed him to his absolute limits. But here's what made Cena special throughout all of these encounters. his ability to adapt, to find weaknesses in seemingly perfect opponents, and to win matches before they even began through pure psychological dominance. Cena has this uncanny ability to get inside his opponents' heads, to make them doubt themselves at crucial moments, to turn their greatest strengths into exploitable weaknesses. He's won matches simply by maintaining his composure while his opponents lost theirs. He's overcome physical disadvantages through mental superiority. He's turned hostile crowds into allies through sheer force of will. But here's where Hikuleo presents a completely different type of challenge. He brings a silent rage, a primal intensity that doesn't seem manufactured or scripted. When most wrestlers face Cena, they try to out-talk him, out-charisma him, or out-intensity him. They play Cena's game, and that's exactly where they lose. Hikuleo's approach is fundamentally different. That backstage stare-down revealed something crucial about his psychology. He's not interested in verbal sparring or mind games. He's not trying to prove he belongs in Cena's league through traditional wrestling theatrics. Instead, he's operating on a completely different level, one that feels genuinely unpredictable and dangerous. The question isn't whether Hikuleo has the physical tools to challenge Cena. At 7 feet tall and over 300 pounds, with legitimate training from some of the world's most respected combat sports schools, his physical credentials are undeniable. The real question is whether he can maintain that psychological edge when the lights are brightest, when the pressure is most intense, when Cena starts employing all the mental tactics that have broken so many other challengers. There's something about Hikuleo's composure that suggests he might be different. That backstage confrontation could have gone a dozen different ways. He could have immediately escalated to physical violence. He could have launched into a lengthy promo trying to establish his credentials. He could have shown nervousness or uncertainty when faced with a legend. Instead, he chose silence, patience, and calculated intimidation. That level of self-control, combined with his obvious physical advantages and legitimate training background, suggests that he might possess the rare combination of attributes needed to not just challenge Cena but potentially dethrone him. The wrestling world is about to find out if this mysterious force from the Pacific Islands can back up his intimidating presence with championship-level performance. The moment that backstage confrontation aired, the wrestling world absolutely exploded across every social media platform imaginable, and the fan reactions revealed just how perfectly this storyline has captured the imagination of the WWE Universe. We're talking about the kind of organic, passionate response that WWE executives dream about, the type of genuine excitement that can't be manufactured or forced. Twitter became an absolute battlefield within minutes of the episode ending. Hashtags like hashtag Hikuleo vs. Cena, hashtag Smackdown Takeover, and hashtag Talatanga Challenge started trending worldwide, with fans from every corner of the globe weighing in with their hot takes, predictions, and emotional reactions. The diversity of responses tells the complete story of how this confrontation has divided and energized the fan base. The excitement at camp is absolutely electric with anticipation. These fans have been waiting for anyone, who could present a legitimate threat to Cena's seemingly unstoppable championship reign. Comments like "finally, a real threat to Cena," and "Hikuleo looks like an absolute beast, let's go," dominated the conversation. These fans see in Hikuleo everything they've been craving: size, presence, mystery, and most importantly, the kind of authenticity that feels genuinely dangerous rather than manufactured for television. But the skeptical faction is equally vocal and passionate in their responses. These are the fans who've watched Cena overcome seemingly impossible odds time and time again, who've seen bigger men, more athletic competitors, and more charismatic challengers all fall to the champion's combination of skill, experience, and mental toughness. Their comments reflect a healthy respect for Cena's track record. Cena's faced bigger and better. Hikuleo better bring more than just size, and size doesn't matter if you can't handle the pressure of the main event. Then there's the third group, the fans who don't care about predictions or analysis. They just want to see these two forces collide in the most spectacular way possible. These are the comments that really capture the raw excitement this confrontation has generated. Put this on the Royal Rumble card right now. I need it, and I don't care who wins. I just want to see them destroy each other. What's particularly fascinating about the social media response is how it's transcended traditional wrestling fandom. Sports analysts, MMA commentators, and even mainstream entertainment reporters have started weighing in on the confrontation. The crossover appeal suggests that this storyline has the potential to reach audiences beyond WWE's traditional fan base. Instagram has become a treasure trove of fan-created content, with wrestling artists creating incredible digital artwork depicting potential match scenarios, graphic designers crafting mock pay-per-view posters, and video editors splicing together highlight reels that imagine how a Cena vs. Hikuleo match might unfold. The creativity and passion displayed in these fan creations demonstrate just how deeply this storyline has resonated. Reddit's wrestling communities have become 24/7 discussion forums, with detailed analysis threads breaking down every aspect of the confrontation. Fans are dissecting body language, analyzing the psychological implications of Hikuleo's approach, and creating elaborate fantasy booking scenarios for how this rivalry could develop over the coming months. The international response has been equally impressive, with wrestling fans from Japan praising Hikuleo's strong-style training background, Pacific Island communities expressing pride in seeing their culture represented at WWE's highest level, and European fans debating whether this could be the beginning of a new era in professional wrestling. Perhaps most tellingly, the response has generated the kind of passionate debate that indicates a truly compelling storyline. Fans aren't just casually interested, they're invested, they're taking sides, they're making predictions, and most importantly, they're tuning in to see what happens next. The aftermath of this backstage confrontation has created a powder keg situation that could explode in any number of fascinating directions, and WWE's handling of the next few weeks will determine whether we're witnessing the birth of a legendary rivalry or just another missed opportunity in sports entertainment. WWE's official silence speaks volumes about the strategic importance of this storyline. No immediate match announcements, no corporate statements, no rushed booking decisions, just the kind of calculated patience that suggests they understand they're sitting on something potentially special. This isn't the time for knee-jerk reactions or quick payoffs. This is the time for careful, methodical storytelling that builds anticipation to a fever pitch. But make no mistake, you don't stare down the WWE champion in his own locker room without consequences. The wrestling business operates on respect, hierarchy, and unwritten rules, and Hikuleo just shattered several of them in the most public way possible. Cena's response will be crucial, not just for this storyline, but for his credibility as champion and locker room leader. Expect Cena to address the confrontation on next week's Smackdown, but don't expect a typical angry promo filled with threats and challenges. Cena's too smart, too experienced, and too calculating for that kind of obvious response. Instead, look for him to acknowledge Hikuleo's presence while simultaneously questioning whether this mysterious challenger has what it takes to back up his intimidating stare-down with actual in-ring performance. Hikuleo's next move will be equally critical. The beauty of his backstage approach was its restraint. He made his point without resorting to typical wrestling cliches or over-the-top theatrics. Maintaining that psychological edge while gradually revealing more about his capabilities and motivations will be essential for keeping this storyline fresh and unpredictable. The timing couldn't be more perfect for a slow-burn build toward a major pay-per-view confrontation. With Royal Rumble season approaching, followed by the road to WrestleMania, WWE has the perfect framework for developing this rivalry into something truly special. Imagine Hikuleo making strategic appearances over the coming weeks, each one more intense than the last, building toward an inevitable championship match that feels genuinely unpredictable. But there's also the possibility that this could explode much sooner than anyone expects. Wrestling storylines have a way of taking on lives of their own, and if the fan response continues to build at its current pace, WWE might be forced to accelerate their timeline. Sometimes the best storylines are the ones that feel organic and inevitable rather than carefully planned. The wild card factor is how other wrestlers on the roster respond to Hikuleo's presence. Will established stars see him as a threat to the existing hierarchy? Will younger wrestlers try to align themselves with this potential new power player? Will Cena's allies rally around their champion, or will some see Hikuleo's arrival as an opportunity to shake up the status quo? One thing is absolutely certain, WWE Smackdown just became must-see television again, and every wrestling fan in the world will be watching to see how this confrontation evolves into what could be the defining rivalry of the next era. So here we are, standing at what could be the most significant crossroads in modern WWE history, and the question isn't just whether Hikuleo can dethrone John Cena, it's whether we're witnessing the exact moment when the landscape of professional wrestling changed forever. Let's be completely honest about what we just witnessed. This wasn't your typical wrestling angle designed to fill television time or create a quick pay-per-view match. This was something that felt genuinely organic, genuinely dangerous, and genuinely unpredictable. When Hikuleo stared down Cena in that backstage area, it wasn't just another challenger making his presence known. It was a force of nature announcing its intention to reshape everything we thought we knew about WWE's power structure. The beauty of this confrontation lies in its simplicity and authenticity. No elaborate schemes, no convoluted storylines, no corporate interference, just two alpha males establishing dominance in the most primal way possible. Hikuleo's approach was masterful in its restraint. He said exactly what needed to be said, did exactly what needed to be done, and left everyone wanting more. But here's what makes this storyline absolutely fascinating from a long-term perspective. We're potentially watching the changing of the guard in real time. John Cena has been the face of WWE for over a decade, carrying the company through some of its most challenging periods while establishing himself as one of the greatest champions in wrestling history. But every era eventually comes to an end, and every legend eventually meets someone who represents the future. Hikuleo embodies everything that makes wrestling fans' hearts race with excitement. He's got the size, the presence, the legitimate training background, and most importantly, that indefinable quality that separates true superstars from everyone else. That backstage staredown revealed a level of composure and confidence that can't be taught in performance centers or manufactured through corporate development programs. The psychological warfare aspect of this rivalry is what could elevate it from good to legendary. Cena's greatest strength has always been his ability to get inside opponents' heads, to make them doubt themselves at crucial moments, to win matches through mental superiority as much as physical skill. But Hikuleo's silent, calculating approach suggests he might be immune to those traditional psychological tactics. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? What happens when a legend's greatest weapons prove ineffective against a challenger who operates by completely different rules? What happens when the face of the company faces someone who doesn't just want his championship, but wants to erase his entire legacy? These are the questions that will drive this storyline forward, and the answers will determine not just who holds the WWE Championship, but what the future of professional wrestling looks like. Will Cena prove once again that experience and mental toughness can overcome any physical advantage? Or will Hikuleo usher in a new era of dominance that makes everyone forget the previous champion ever existed? The stage is set, the players are in position, and the wrestling world is watching with bated breath. What do you think happens next? Is Hikuleo the real deal, or will Cena remind everyone why legends become legends in the first place? Drop your predictions in the comments below. I want to know who you think comes out on top when these two forces finally collide. Are you Team Cena or Team Hikuleo? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because this storyline is just getting started, and you won't want to miss a single moment of what could be the rivalry that defines the next decade of WWE.